I had known NC State College as a 4-H'er in North Carolina as I was growing up, and so when I was finishing my graduate study at Duke, NC State was the only place I applied for a job, and I was hired by the chair of the English department to teach freshman English while I finished my doctorate dissertation at Duke. At that time, the name had not been changed from the College of Liberal Arts, and at one time it was called a School of Liberal Arts, and before that it was a School of General Studies, so it had become a service department and was gradually becoming a college because NC State College could not be a legitimate university without a college devoted to humanities and social sciences.
Although degrees in sociology and economics had been offered for many, many years, probably 50 years before 1963, and they were offered through the School of Ag and Life Sciences. The faculty were very much aware of the land grant mission of the university, were very much concerned with meeting the demands of the disciplines and the people in North Carolina and students coming to NC State.
In the early years, we were perceived only as service to teach the other disciplines. Engineers appreciated us, agricultural people appreciated us, but they looked to us to teach some things they felt their graduates needed to be successful in their careers. That is in terms of the faculty that I interacted with in those early years from other areas. In those days, we met and talked in the library, and Student Center was built. The library expanded into the Erdal Claude wing. We had our coffee on the outside of that building and met and talked there. And so there's a lot of appreciation and support for the humanities and social sciences, but they perceived us as service to their missions.
I first arrived at NC State in August 1965, and I hadn't been on campus, so I parked where the Baptist Student Union is. There was a parking place there. And the first 7 people I asked, where's the history department, didn't know. And the 8th person said, I think it's in the round building. And so that was my first impression, is that a lot of people on this campus didn't know about the history department. But there was good reason. The department had just been founded. There was a little bit less of a liberal arts flavor on campus, more in technology, and actually, I think agriculture seemed to have even more dominant than engineering. And whenever we would have tight budget situations, some of the deans, such as textiles and forest resources and so forth, would say, well, you know, this liberal arts component, that's what we called it then, is they're getting too much of the budget because they're getting too many students. The time we start limiting them, for long they're going to be bigger in agriculture and engineering. And the engineering dean was Ralph Fadum, and he would turn to them each time and say, I cannot educate first-class engineers unless I have a first-class liberal arts faculty to teach them. And he would have nothing to do with cutting back on liberal arts. It gives perspective. It gives critical analysis and thought. Above all, whatever a student learns in their major, whether it's civil engineering, aeronautics engineering, pesticides for crop controls, toxicology, whatever their specialty, they've got to apply it in a social setting. And so they have got to be sensitive to the broad aspects of society as well as their specialization. And that's the most critical role that we play and can play. In addition, of course, we have our own majors in which we produce some really excellent students.
I had the fortunate opportunity to interact with Dr. Caldwell quite a bit as a result of my student government connection. He was the classic statesman, and I feel a lot of kinship with him because he was a native of Alabama, but to me, the consummate Southern gentleman. Did not have the prejudices that one might expect a Southern white man to have. And at the time, I was married. He and his wife were almost like surrogate parents to us, because invariably you're doing the shaking of hands at reception lines, and we would often be standing together and doing kinds of things. He had a true open door policy. Whenever I felt like I needed to talk to him, I could come in. Of course, the receptionist knew me and would let me know, could I come in now or get an appointment to come in later.
We had a chancellor named John Caldwell who treated everybody as his own family members. In fact, in the first week of my arrival here, I was walking on the campus, and John Caldwell stopped me, shook his hands, and I was absolutely amazed that this was the chancellor. And so he would walk on the campus, introduce himself, take some people home for dinner. Dean Glazner, who was my counterpart in School of Ag and Life Sciences, used to do a survey among the alumni of his college. And he would ask the question, one of the questions was, did you have too many courses in humanities and social sciences? The current graduates, majority of them would say yes. Then he would send the survey in 5 years, or 8 years, or 10 years. Same questions. And now they were complaining they didn't get enough. And that gives me the basic reason for our existence and collaboration with the other colleges. Because if you get a degree, for example, in plant pathology, you're not going to be a plant pathologist all your life. You eventually have to go into management. And then the person says, I wish I could give a talk. I wish I could understand the American heritage. People eventually have to move into management position and so on. And that's when they feel the need for more experience with the humanities and social sciences and so on.
And we became more disciplines in with our own mission of producing people with BA degrees and master's degrees. But by the 80s, we had grown so much in size. NC State had grown. And the growth of NC State and enrollment really meant a lot of growth in humanities and social science disciplines.
And I think NC State, as I say, it has this kind of ag image, but secretly it has the best English department, in this whole entire area, I think, in the best creative writing department. And but it also does have all these other wonderful areas of expertise and courses that the students are taking at the same time. It's a very sophisticated university. It has all the liberal arts, but it has also more than the liberal arts. But I had no idea that the school would be, filled with artists and the most interesting people in, in every branch of the humanities. So it was a very exciting place to come, and a very creative place for all the arts. And I think at that time in North Carolina State did not have that reputation. So I was just delighted to get there and be a part of them. I began to have more and more of a sense of the college as an entity, and more of a sense of the humanities of CHAS as being one whole entity, and where the various disciplines were really interested in each other. Whether it was music and whether it was drama, whether it was dance or just whatever. And I think we all began to feel that and had some very good leadership.